We've all heard the phrase, "you're what you eat." But what if I told you that your leg strength, your mobility, and even your muscle endurance could begin regenerating in just 12 hours, not with supplements, not with medication, but by consuming a single food that has been rigorously studied and proven by peer-reviewed science? This isn't hype, this is biology. And the food is beets. Yes, beets. Often underestimated, frequently overlooked. But these deep crimson roots are, in fact, a nitric oxide powerhouse. And nitric oxide, that's not just some abstract molecule. It's a master regulator of blood flow, oxygen delivery, and muscular contraction, especially in the lower extremities, where circulation tends to degrade with age, injury, or inactivity. Let me walk you through the mechanisms, because understanding the why and the how is what gives us the power to transform. And transformation begins at the level of your cells. The science of strength restoration, the decline in leg strength, isn't just about muscle mass. It's about cellular oxygen delivery. The mitochondria in your muscle cells require oxygen to give energy, key currency of movement. When oxygen is limited, fatigue sets in. When blood flow is poor, strength collapses. It becomes harder to get up, harder to walk, harder to maintain independence. Now here's where beets come in. They're naturally rich in dietary nitrates, compounds that convert into nitric oxide, in the body. And nitric oxide is one of the most powerful vasodilators known to human physiology. It expands your blood vessels, improves circulation, and enhances the delivery of oxygen and nutrients to skeletal muscle, especially during activity. A landmark study from the University of Exeter showed that just one dose of concentrated beetroot juice, equivalent to eating 1 to 2 whole beets, improved leg muscle performance within over 3 hours, peaked within 12 within 2. We're not talking about marginal gains, we're talking about restoration. In elderly subjects and in younger athletes, nitrate supplementation improved leg extension, torque, muscle oxygenation, and walking endurance. One meal, one route, profound outcomes. 12 hours to activation. Here's what happens when you consume this food. Our 1 to 3 nitrates are absorbed in your gut and converted to nitrites via bacteria in your saliva. Our 3 to 6 nitrites are circulated through your bloodstream and convert to nitric oxide in low oxygen tissues like your working leg muscles. Our 6 to 12 nitric oxide levels peak. Blood vessels in your lower extremities dilate. More oxygen, more glucose, more nutrients flood your muscle tissue. Mitochondria ramp up ATP production. Strength returns. You feel it when you walk, when you stand, when you climb stairs. This is not theoretical. This is measurable. Muscle oxygen saturation increases. EMG readings show better muscle activation. Fatigue resistance goes up. And the kicker, it works whether you're 25 or 75. Whether you're training for a marathon or recovering from a hospital stay. The biology is universal. The difference is whether or not you leverage it. The practical protocol, so what do? Consume 1 to 2 medium-sized beets, raw, steamed, or juiced. Ideal timing, 3 to 12 hours before leg-intensive activity. That could be a workout, a walk, physical therapy, or just an active day. For best results, combine it with light movement like walking or bodyweight squats to amplify nitric oxide signaling and reinforce neuromuscular reactivation. And there's more. Beets contain betalains, powerful antioxidants that reduce inflammation in joints and muscle tissue. That's crucial when restoring leg function because strength doesn't return in a vacuum. It returns when inflammation recedes and circulation improves. Most people think that losing strength in the legs is simply a matter of aging or inactivity, that the muscles just get weaker because they're not used enough. And while there's truth in that, it's not the whole story. In fact, one of the most overlooked and underappreciated reasons why leg strength deteriorates, why climbing stairs becomes harder, why walking feels like a chore, why balance starts to suffer is not just due to muscle loss. It's because of a silent, often invisible decline in something even more foundational: circulation. Your legs don't operate in isolation. They're not mechanical parts that wear out on their own. They are living tissues fed and maintained by a network of blood vessels, supplied moment to moment with oxygen, nutrients, hormones, and energy substrates that allow them to function. Every time you stand, every time you walk, every time you push off the ground, those movements are being powered by muscle fibers that are only as good as the blood flow they receive. And when that circulation is compromised, when blood flow slows, vessels constrict, and oxygen delivery drops, you don't just feel a little off. You start to lose strength at the cellular level. This isn't about age, it's about biology. Because the moment your circulation starts to weaken, your body begins to down-regulate performance. It's not trying to punish you. It's trying to protect you. Muscles that don't receive enough oxygen can't produce enough ATP. That's the cellular fuel that powers every contraction, every step, every lift. Without enough ATP, your muscles fatigue faster, your nerves fire less efficiently, and the body instinctively starts to limit force output to preserve integrity. What you feel as weakness is actually a protective adaptation to reduce perfusion. It gets even deeper. When circulation suffers, you don't just lose strength, you lose the signals that keep your muscles engaged and growing. Blood flow carries not just oxygen and nutrients, but also hormonal signals like insulin, growth factors, and repair molecules that stimulate muscle protein synthesis. Without adequate circulation, those signals don't reach the muscle fibers, and when the fibers stop receiving those growth signals, they begin to atrophy. They shrink, they thin out, and they lose their ability to contract with power. It's not just about what you lift or how much you move, it's about what your vascular system delivers to the tissues trying to do the work. Many people wake up and realize that their legs feel heavy. They think it's a matter of aging or bad knees. But underneath that stiffness is often a reduction in capillary density, a narrowing of blood vessels, and a loss of endothelial function, the thin layer of cells lining your arteries that regulate dilation and blood flow. When these endothelial cells lose responsiveness due to inflammation, sedentary behavior, or poor diet, they stop producing enough nitric oxide, the molecule responsible for relaxing and opening blood vessels. And when vessels stay constricted, blood flow diminishes. Oxygen can't get where it needs to go. Waste products like carbon dioxide and lactic acid build up. And what results is that familiar, persistent fatigue in the legs muscles that feel drained even after minor activity. The beautiful thing is that this is not irreversible. In fact, your vascular system is one of the most adaptable systems in the body. With the right stimuli, blood vessels can reopen, expand, and even regrow. Capillary networks can be reestablished. Blood flow can improve. And once that happens, the strength that felt lost begins to come back. Not because you forced it, but because you restored the environment that allows it to thrive. One of the biggest mistakes people make when trying to recover leg strength is focusing only on the muscle. They jump straight into resistance training. And while movement is essential, trying to force muscle growth without addressing the underlying circulatory issue is like trying to pump water through a clogged pipe. You might get a trickle, but you won't get flow. And without flow, you won't get function. Let's take a step back and look at how the body is designed. Your heart pumps blood into the arteries, which branch into smaller arterioles and capillaries. These capillaries are the site of exchange where oxygen exits the blood and enters the muscle. In healthy tissue, this exchange happens quickly and efficiently, but in chronically underused legs and legs that haven't been walked, stretched, or loaded in meaningful ways, those capillary beds begin to wither. They become sluggish, dormant, and the muscles they serve begin to suffer. This is why people who sit for long hours often experience cold feet, tight calves, and reduced ankle mobility. The issue isn't just mechanical, it's circulatory. The muscle you have is only as good as the blood flow that feeds it. And strength is only sustainable when oxygen delivery keeps pace with demand. You don't need a gym and membership to understand this. You just need to understand that movement creates flow and flow creates function. Even a short walk, when done consistently and intentionally, can begin to restore endothelial health and nitric oxide production. The body will always respond to demand, but if circulation isn't improved, all the strength training in the world will hit a ceiling. The muscles won't recover, they won't grow, because the fuel they need isn't arriving. So what do? We change the input. We stop thinking of leg strength as something that only exists in the muscles and start understanding it as something that is maintained and rebuilt through the vascular system. We eat foods that enhance nitric oxide production. We hydrate to support plasma volume. We move not for the sake of exercise, but for the sake of flow. We begin with gentle movements like ankle pumps, heel raises, or leg swings, actions that re-engage circulation without overstressing the tissue. And we time those movements around nutrient-dense meals that support vasodilation and anti-inflammatory recovery. The truth is, your body never forgets how to be strong. It just gets blocked. It gets inflamed. It gets underfueled. The circuits of strength are still there. The neural pathways still exist. But they're waiting for the green light, the signal that oxygen is back, that nutrients are arriving, that the system is ready to activate again. And this is the pivot point, because when you reclaim your circulation, you don't just feel stronger, you feel more alive. Your legs don't just move better, they feel energized. Your steps get lighter. Your joints ache less. Your recovery time shortens. You walk into rooms with more presence. You stand longer with more confidence. And it doesn't come from supplements or shortcuts. It comes from respecting the foundation, the vascular health that underpins every movement you make. It's never too late. Even in advanced age, even in long-term inactivity, even after surgery or illness, the body retains its capacity for vascular adaptation. The walls of your arteries can become more elastic. The number of functioning capillaries can increase. Mitochondria within the muscle cells can regenerate, producing more ATP with less oxygen. These are not miracles. These are biological facts, supported by decades of research in exercise physiology, cardiology, and muscle regeneration. But none of this happens by chance. It happens by choice. The choice to take circulation seriously. The choice to see beyond the muscle and into the system that supports it. The choice to start small, to act consistently, and to understand that strength doesn't start with effort. It starts with flow. So the next time you feel weak, the next time you struggle to get up from a chair or hesitate at the bottom of a staircase, don't just ask what's wrong with your muscles. Ask what's happening in your blood vessels. Ask whether your muscles are receiving the oxygen they need. Because when you address that question, when you nourish the body with the compounds and movements that restore blood flow, you'll start to feel a shift. Not just in how you move, but in how you exist. The secret to regaining leg strength is not in pushing harder. It's in opening the channels that have been closed. It's in revitalizing the pathways of delivery. The loss of strength is not the end of capacity, it's a signal. A signal that the engine needs fuel, and the fuel needs a way in. Circulation is that way. And when you restore it, you don't just get your strength back, you get your life back. Beets are not just vegetables you throw into a salad. They are a biochemical powerhouse. When it comes to human performance, especially leg strength and mobility, beets offer something most foods do not: a direct pathway to improving blood flow, oxygen delivery, and muscular efficiency. The transformation begins with a molecule most people have never heard of, but one the body depends on every single day: nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is not a nutrient. It's a signaling molecule. One that tells your blood vessels when to relax and open up, allowing for more blood to flow through. That's what vasodilation is, and vasodilation is what fuels performance, recovery, and even longevity. The more freely your blood flows, the more oxygen and nutrients are delivered to the muscles that need them. And for your legs, the largest muscles in your body, that means faster recovery, better energy, and measurable strength improvements. Beets are rich in nitrates, natural compounds that convert into nitric oxide through a precise and elegant pathway in the human body. When you consume beets, whether raw, cooked, or as juice, those nitrates begin a transformation the moment they enter your mouth. Bacteria on your tongue convert them into nitrites. Those nitrites move through your digestive system, absorbed into the bloodstream, and then further converted into nitric oxide. It's not just a nutritional event, it's a chemical signal to your body. Open up, let blood flow, get oxygen where it belongs. In a healthy body, nitric oxide is already being produced. Endothelial cells, the thin layer that lines your blood vessels, create it as part of normal function. But here's the problem: this system breaks down with age, poor diet, lack of movement, and chronic stress. The natural production of nitric oxide begins to decline, and as it does, so does blood flow. Muscles don't get the oxygen they need, they fatigue faster, they repair slower. And strength begins to slip away, not because the muscles are lazy, but because their supply chain has been compromised. That's where beets change the game. They bypass the damaged production line and give the body an alternate route. Instead of relying solely on endothelial production, they bring nitrates directly into the body's chemistry, where they can be converted into nitric oxide with precision and speed. This isn't just theoretical. There's hard science behind it. Clinical trials have shown that within 3 to 12 hours of consuming beet juice, subjects show measurable improvements in muscle oxygenation, blood flow, and endurance. One study published in the Journal of Applied Physiology found that individuals who drank beetroot juice increased muscle oxygenation during physical activity, especially in the lower limbs. That's not coincidence. That's chemistry working in real time. When nitric oxide levels increase, blood vessels dilate. When blood vessels dilate, circulation improves. And when circulation improves, leg muscles function more effectively. They receive more oxygen per contraction. They clear out waste products like lactic acid more efficiently. And they generate more force with less fatigue. You're not just working harder, you're working smarter because your cells are finally receiving what they need. Beets also enhance mitochondrial efficiency. Mitochondria are the power plants of your cells. They convert oxygen into ATP, the energy currency of life. When nitric oxide levels rise, mitochondria don't have to work as hard to produce the same amount of energy. That means greater endurance, faster recovery, and more sustained power output in your leg muscles. Imagine being able to walk farther, stand longer, or climb stairs more confidently, not because you trained harder, but because your cellular machinery was finally optimized. That's what beet nitrates do. They don't just support blood flow, they fine-tune the body's ability to use that blood flow for energy. There's a reason why elite athletes drink beet juice before competition. There's a reason. Why clinical populations, those with heart disease, high blood pressure, and chronic fatigue are starting to use beet supplementation as part of rehabilitation protocols. Because it works, and it works fast. In as little as a few hours, your body can go from underpowered to reactivated simply by increasing nitric oxide through this natural food-based intervention. It's also important to understand how rapidly the body responds to this compound. The half-life of nitric oxide is extremely short, just a few seconds, so the effects you feel are from the downstream impact on the vascular system. That means regular consumption of beets can create a sustained elevation in performance as long as you keep the pipeline open. It's not about one-time fixes, it's about creating a rhythm where your body is consistently supplied with the nitrates it needs to function at its best. You don't need extreme doses. Even a single serving of beet juice, roughly 250 to 500 milliliters, has been shown to improve cardiovascular performance and muscle efficiency. And you don't need to be a runner or cyclist to benefit. If you've been struggling with leg fatigue, poor balance, or limited mobility, this one food could be the catalyst for real, tangible improvement. It's easy to forget how deeply our physiology is tied to what we eat. We assume performance is all about willpower or training volume. But in reality, it's about giving the body the right tools at the right time. Beets are one of those tools. Not a supplement in a capsule, not a prescription drug. A whole food that activates a cascade of responses with precision and elegance. You eat the beets. Your tongue bacteria do the first conversion. Your gut absorbs the nitrites. Your blood delivers them to tissues. Your muscles receive the nitric oxide. And the strength that felt absent begins to return not through force, but through flow. Legs, in particular, respond incredibly well to this because of how dependent they are on perfusion. They're your most gravitationally challenged muscles, constantly fighting against the pull of the earth to keep you upright, mobile, and balanced. And because of their size, they require a disproportionately large amount of blood and oxygen to function. That's why circulatory issues often show up first in the legs. Cold feet, achy calves, weak quads. The body is prioritizing organs, brain, heart, leaving less for the extremities. But with beets, that equation begins to shift. Nitric oxide tells the vessels in your legs, open up, allow flow, restore balance. And as the blood returns, so does the energy, the stability, the strength. This is especially vital for older adults. As we age, the body naturally produces less nitric oxide. The vessels lose elasticity. Muscles become more resistant to growth, but studies have shown that older individuals can dramatically improve their cardiovascular function with dietary nitrates, especially from beets. That means you don't have to accept weakness as part of aging. You can actively fight back with science-backed nutrition. You can create a daily ritual starting your morning with a glass of beet juice, combining it with light movement like walking or stretching, and setting the stage for improved circulation throughout the day. It's simple, accessible, and remarkably effective. The nitrate content in beets is also well tolerated. Unlike synthetic vasodilators, which often come with side effects or dosage limitations, beet nitrates are naturally buffered by the food matrix. That means your body can use what it needs and excrete the rest. It's a self-regulating system. You're not overriding your biology, you're supporting it. You're feeding the mechanism that already exists and letting it do what it was designed to do: adapt, heal, strengthen. In every human body, there is potential for recovery, for increased strength, for better mobility. That potential doesn't vanish with age or inactivity. It just waits. It waits for the right conditions, for oxygen to arrive, for blood to flow, for cells to receive the nutrients they've been starved of. And in that waiting, there is hope. Because when you provide the body with what it truly needs, not just calories, but chemistry, change happens. Legs that felt heavy become lighter. Steps that felt unstable become firm. The mind begins to trust the body again. And confidence returns not because you forced it, but because you fed it. Beets offer a direct route back to that strength. Not because they're magic, but because they are in harmony with your design. They work with your biology, not against it. They support the natural processes of dilation, delivery, and detoxification that underpin every movement you make. And in doing so, they unlock performance that was never truly lost, only waiting. When we talk about measurable strength gains, most people instinctively think of months of resistance training, structured nutrition, and progressive overload. And while those are undeniably essential elements in long-term strength development, there's a category of physiological enhancement that often gets overlooked. The ability to unlock strength that already exists within the body but is inaccessible due to impaired blood flow, suboptimal oxygen delivery, or biochemical bottlenecks. This is where food, specifically functional foods like beets, becomes more than just fuel. It becomes a catalyst. And when consumed in the right form, at the right dose, and under the right conditions, measurable increases in leg strength and endurance can manifest in as little as 12 hours. To understand how this is possible, we have to start by examining what strength really is. Strength is not just the contraction of muscle fibers, it's the coordination between the nervous system and the muscular system. It's the ability of your neurons to recruit motor units quickly and efficiently. It's the readiness of your muscle fibers to respond. It's the availability of energy within the muscle cell. And critically, it's the delivery of oxygen and nutrients that make contraction sustainable and powerful. When that supply chain is compromised, no matter how much muscle mass you have, your functional strength is impaired. This is especially true in the lower body. The legs are responsible for the bulk of daily locomotion, walking, standing, balancing, climbing stairs. They're constantly under load, and they demand high levels of circulation. Now, enter the science of dietary nitrates. Found in high concentrations in beets, these compounds are converted by the body into nitric oxide, a molecule that expands blood vessels and increases circulation. Within hours of ingestion, beet-derived nitrates begin acting on the endothelium, the inner lining of blood vessels, triggering vasodilation. Blood vessels in the legs widen, flow increases, oxygen saturation improves, and the muscles that were once undersupplied become recharged. This isn't theoretical. It's been repeatedly documented in controlled, peer-reviewed studies. Muscle oxygenation levels rise measurably within 3 to 6 hours of consuming beetroot juice. And this effect peaks between 6 and 12 hours. In that window, not only does endurance improve, but measurable strength gains occur as a result of the increased cellular efficiency. One of the more striking studies in this field involved participants undergoing knee extension exercises, standardized, measurable, and quantifiable. After consuming a single serving of beetroot juice, participants were tested for muscle torque, power output, and fatigue resistance. Within 12 hours, the group that consumed beet juice exhibited statistically significant increases in muscle force production compared to the control group. What changed? Not their muscle mass, not their training level. What changed was intracellular access to oxygen and nutrients. When that access improved, dormant strength became available. Muscles fired more completely. Fatigue set in later. Recovery between contractions improved, and force output rose not from added effort, but from optimized efficiency. It's a simple truth. Underperfused muscle is underpowered muscle. You can train hard, eat well, and still feel sluggish if your system isn't delivering what your muscles need. That's why athletes, both amateur and elite, have embraced beet supplementation not as a replacement for training, but as an amplifier. And the effects are not limited to the fit and strong. Clinical populations, those with heart conditions, mobility issues, or aging-related weakness, have demonstrated rapid improvements in functional strength and walking endurance with beet juice consumption. The reason is universal. Nitric oxide enhances circulation, and better circulation enhances muscle function. Let's consider the legs specifically. Due to gravitational forces, the lower extremities often suffer from reduced venous return. Blood pools, capillaries constrict, and nutrient delivery slows down. That's why leg fatigue is so common among older adults or sedentary individuals. But when you consume beets, the nitric oxide surge directly targets this inefficiency. Blood vessels in the legs relax. Resistance to flow decreases. The muscles begin receiving a rush of oxygen-rich blood. Lactic acid is cleared more efficiently. And with that comes a renewed capacity for strength. People report not just more endurance, but actual physical strength, being able to stand longer, walk farther, squat deeper, all within hours of consumption. This isn't about magic, it's about physiology. Your muscles are already capable of more than you realize. But when they're not oxygenated properly, they operate under constraints. Remove those constraints and performance improves measurably and quickly. In fact, in studies where EMG, electromyography, is used to measure neuromuscular activation, researchers have found increased muscle fiber recruitment after nitrate consumption. That means your brain is able to signal your muscles more effectively. That's neural strength. And it's happening not because you've trained harder, but because your internal chemistry has been upgraded. There's also a mitochondrial effect. Mitochondria are the engines inside your muscle cells. They convert oxygen and nutrients into ATP, the energy currency of movement. Beets, through their nitrate content, enhance mitochondrial efficiency. That means you generate more energy per unit of oxygen. So not only does blood flow improve, but the muscles use that oxygen more effectively. You're increasing the net energy available for contraction. And that shows up as improved performance. In simple terms, your legs feel lighter, quicker, stronger. You're able to do more with less effort, and you're able to repeat that effort with less fatigue. This also has implications for recovery. One of the key reasons muscles stay weak or fatigued after exertion is poor post-exercise perfusion. Blood doesn't circulate fast enough to bring in nutrients or remove waste products, but nitric oxide improves that post-exercise blood flow. So when you consume beets, you're not just preparing your legs for action, you're also accelerating their recovery afterward. That means you can train more frequently, perform more confidently, and stay mobile longer. The 12-hour window is particularly important. It's the period where plasma nitrate levels peak. During that time, your system is fully engaged in nitric oxide production. The full vasodilatory effect is active. Mitochondria are operating at increased efficiency, and neuromuscular coordination is enhanced. That's why even without training adaptation, you can observe meaningful strength gains. For people struggling with leg weakness, whether from age, illness, or sedentary habits, this kind of intervention can be transformational. It can mark the difference between needing assistance to stand and doing it independently, between hesitating to take the stairs and climbing them with renewed confidence. It's also worth noting that these gains are quantifiable. Strength testing, grip dynamometry, timed walk tests, stair climbing tests all show improvement after beet consumption. It's not just anecdotal, it's measurable. And what's fascinating is that these improvements are not tied to psychological factors. Placebo-controlled studies have accounted for expectations. The gains persist regardless of whether participants believe the beet juice will help. That's how you know it's real. It's not belief, it's biology. For people looking to leverage this effect, the optimal dose appears to be between 250 and 500 milliliters of beetroot juice. That equates to approximately 6 to 9 ml of nitrate. This dose can be obtained from concentrated beet shots, fresh beet juice, or whole-cooked beets, though juicing tends to deliver the quickest effect due to faster absorption. Ideally, the juice should be consumed on an empty stomach, away from foods that may interfere with nitrate conversion. And perhaps most critically, avoid using antibacterial mouthwash in the hours before or after consumption. The conversion of nitrates to nitrites begins in the mouth, and killing off that bacteria can blunt the effect entirely. The rapidity of this effect also opens the door to strategic use. Athletes can time their beet consumption before competition. Elderly individuals can consume it before physical therapy. Anyone experiencing leg fatigue can time it before activity. Because when you align the biochemical window with the task at hand, you're able to maximize the benefit. You're not waiting weeks for adaptation, you're creating conditions for strength to express itself immediately. This concept, nutritional activation of latent strength, is a powerful one. It challenges the belief that strength is only built over time. The truth is, strength is often already present, but hidden behind layers of inefficiency. Beets remove those layers. They lift the constraints. They allow your physiology to breathe, circulate, and perform. And while the effects may not be permanent from a single dose, they are repeatable. With daily or regular consumption, the benefits stack. The vascular system stays more open. The mitochondria stay more efficient, and the neuromuscular system stays more responsive. So when someone says, eat this one food and regain leg strength in 12 hours, it's not hyperbole. It's science. It's grounded in biochemistry, physiology, and peer-reviewed evidence. Beets don't build muscle, but they unlock the muscle's potential. They don't replace effort, but they enhance the body's capacity for effort. And in a world where so many people are losing mobility, confidence, and strength, this kind of nutritional activation offers something profound: a fast, accessible, and powerful return to function. A way to feel stronger, not someday, but today.